Story number 1. It started with a knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps against my front door. It was 2:47 a.m. I sat up in bed, frozen in the dark. The sound had been so faint at first I thought I'd imagined it. But then, the same pace, the same pause between each tap. I live alone, deep in the woods. There's no reason for anyone to be out here, not at this hour. I reached for my phone. No signal. Forcing myself out of bed, I crept down the hall, every floorboard groaning under my weight. The front door was just ahead. My fingers brushed the cold wood as I leaned toward the peephole. Empty porch, just pale moonlight spilling across the steps. I let out a shaky breath and turned. This time it came from the back door. The kitchen was darker than the rest of the house, shadows stretching like claws along the tile. My back door is nothing but glass. Beyond it, a black wall of trees. I edged closer, my heart thudding. The night outside felt thick. I reached for the curtain. Something moved on the other side. I jerked my hand back, nearly knocking over a chair. My breath fogged the glass. I hadn't even realized I was that close. Then I heard it. A voice. "I know you're in there." My skin crawled. I stumbled backward, bolted to the bedroom, and locked the door. My hands fumbled for something, anything to use as a weapon. I settled on the heavy lamp from my nightstand. That's when my phone lit up. No caller ID. Against all reason, I answered, breathing, slow, wet, heavy. And then I heard it say, "Let me in. I've been knocking." I hung up and tossed the phone onto the bed. The silence lasted maybe 2 seconds, then, on my bedroom door, I froze, staring at the door handle. It twitched, then slowly, it stopped. I waited, listening, my heartbeat in my ears. Minutes passed. Finally, I crept forward and pressed my ear to the door. Nothing. I unlocked it. Opened it an inch. The hallway was empty. I stepped out, lamp still in my hand. My phone lay on the floor now, right in the middle of the hall. I hadn't dropped it there. I bent down, picked it up. The screen lit up instantly, already in a video call. My own front door. Live feed. But here's the thing. In the video, there was someone standing there, not a person. Tall, thin, head tilted at an unnatural angle, mouth stretching too wide into a smile. Its eyes completely white. And then it turned, not toward the camera, toward me. The knock came again, from directly behind me. I spun around, but the hallway was empty. When I looked back at my phone, the figure was gone. Every light in the house flickered at once. From the kitchen came the slow creak of the back door opening. I didn't go check. I ran. Out the front, barefoot, into the freezing night. I didn't stop until I hit the road, gasping for air. And that's when I saw it. A car pulled up beside me, headlights blinding. The driver rolled down the window, a concerned voice calling out, "Hey, you all right? You're out here in the middle of nowhere." I started toward the car, relieved, until the light caught his face. No eyes. Just smooth skin where they should have been. He smiled, and in that same wrong voice said, "I've been knocking." Story number 2. It was just past midnight when I woke up to a faint tapping sound. At first, I thought it was a branch hitting the window, but the tapping wasn't random, it was rhythmic, too deliberate. I pushed the curtain aside. That's when I saw them. A figure stood at the edge of the yard, motionless, too far away to make out their face, but close enough that I knew they were staring right at me. I grabbed my phone to call the police, but there was no signal. Not even one bar. My Wi-Fi was gone too. The figure didn't move, didn't blink, they just stood there. I decided to turn on the porch light, hoping it would scare them off, but when the bulb flickered to life, they weren't at the edge of the yard anymore. They were halfway to the house. My heart pounded so hard I could barely hear. I stepped back from the window, clutching the phone like it could protect me. I dialed 911 again. Still nothing. I peeked outside. Gone. Relief washed over me until I noticed something. The tap-in was back. Not outside, inside, slow, steady, closer. I gripped my phone, backing toward my bedroom. My pulse thundered in my ears when I finally turned toward the sound. They were there, standing in the hallway. Their face was pale, eyes unblinking, lips stretched in an unnatural grin. In one hand, they held my front door key. "I told you to lock it," they whispered. And then the lights went out. Story number 3. The first knock came just after midnight. It was a soft, deliberate sound, not the quick, polite tap of a neighbor or the heavy pounding of an emergency. Just 3 slow raps on the front door. I was on the couch, half asleep, a blanket wrapped around me. The TV was on low. Playing some rerun I wasn't really watching. My cat, Winston, was curled beside me, his tail twitching in irritation at the sound. I didn't move at first. My house sat at the end of a dead-end street far from town. Nobody came here by accident. If someone was at my door this late, it was either bad news or worse. The second knock came, exactly the same. 3 slow raps. Winston hissed, a sound he'd never made before in his life, and jumped off the couch. He didn't run toward the sound like he normally would. He bolted down the hall toward the bedroom, tail puffed like a bottle brush. I muted the TV and just sat there listening. The air felt different, heavy, pressed in around me, and then nothing. Silence. I told myself it was probably some lost drunk who had the wrong house. I didn't look outside, didn't want to. I should have trusted my gut and stayed put. It happened again the next night. Same time, same sound. 3 slow knocks. This time I crept to the peephole. At first I thought there was nobody there. The porch looked empty. But then my eyes adjusted, and I saw it. A figure stood at the very edge of the light, too tall, its head tilted at an odd angle like it was studying me through the door. I couldn't see a face, couldn't even be sure it had one. I backed away slowly, heart slamming in my chest. The knocking didn't come again that night, but I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined it still standing out there watching. By the 3rd night, I was ready. I turned off every light and sat by the window with my phone in my hand, camera ready. At exactly 12:03 a.m., it appeared again. It didn't walk up the steps like a normal person. One second the porch was empty, the next it was just there, standing inches from the door. Its hand, long, impossibly thin, reached out and knocked. 3 slow raps, and then it spoke. "Let me in." I froze. It tilted its head farther as if listening for my reaction. "You left something outside," it said. My blood went cold. I hadn't been outside all day. "What?" I finally whispered, my voice barely audible. "Me." Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. My eyes locked on that thin gray hand still resting against the door. It started to drag its nails down the wood. Slowly. "Please," it whispered. "It's cold." I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. The dispatcher answered, but before I could speak, the thing on the porch said, perfectly mimicking my own voice, They can't help you." The police came anyway. 2 officers searched the yard, the street, even the woods. They found nothing. No footprints in the frost, no signs anyone had been there. That night I locked every door, every window, I left all the lights on. But at 12:03 a.m. the knocking came again. 3 slow raps, this time I didn't look. I sat in my bed clutching Winston and listened as it spoke through the door. "You're already outside," it said. And that's when I realized something terrible. The blankets on my bed were still folded exactly as I'd left them that morning. I wasn't in my bed, I was on the porch, looking through the glass. Story number 4. It was 11:48 p.m. when I left the library. My shift had run late, too late, and I was the last one out. The streets were empty, bathed in the thin glow of flickering street lamps. The air was cold enough to sting my cheeks, and each breath came out in white clouds that drifted away into the black. I lived only 6 blocks from the library, a short walk through narrow side streets, but tonight the silence pressed down like a weight. The wind didn't even bother moving the leaves. My shoes clicked against the cracked pavement, the sound echoing far louder than I liked. I was halfway down Alder Street when I first heard it. Not mine. These were heavier, slower, deliberate. I stopped. The sound stopped. I told myself it was just the echo bouncing off the buildings, or maybe another night walker heading home. No big deal. I shoved my hands deeper into my pockets and kept walking, my pace quickening. After a few more steps, there it was again. Closer. This time I didn't stop. I turned down the next street, pretending not to notice, but my ears strained against the silence. My pulse began to thud in my head. Streetlights ahead blinked erratically, casting brief bursts of yellow that stretched shadows into unnatural shapes. In those fragments of light, I could swear I saw movement just behind me, something slipping from shadow to shadow. The hair on my neck stood on end. I told myself to look back to prove it was nothing, but a deeper instinct, one buried in the primal part of the brain, screamed not to. If I looked, something bad would happen. Another corner, another street. My feet were moving faster now, almost jogging. The footsteps behind me matched. I could hear them in the pattern of someone trying to walk quietly. A scuff here, a slightly too long pause there. Whoever or whatever it was, they were pacing themselves with me. That's when I passed under a working street lamp and caught it, a shadow long and wrong. It stretched across the sidewalk from the opposite side of the road, but there was nothing physical there to cast it. No tree, no person, just the shape. Tall, too thin, with arms hanging lower than they should. My chest tightened. I crossed the street without thinking, putting the shadow behind me, but the sound of those footsteps shifted, as if the thing had moved too. I reached my block. My apartment was just ahead, 2nd floor, single locked door. My breath was shaky, but I forced myself to stay calm. If I broke into a sprint, it would know I knew. The footsteps came closer now, faster, bolder. I slipped my keys from my pocket, fingers fumbling. I told myself, don't drop them, don't look back. The sound was right behind me now. I could almost feel warmth at my back, hear a faint inhale that wasn't mine. I reached my door, shoved the key into the lock, and twisted. The door creaked open just as something brushed the back of my neck, a touch so cold it burned. I slammed the door shut and locked it, chest heaving. My apartment was dark except for the pale blue wash of moonlight through the window. And then, from the hallway outside, I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just listened. The footsteps didn't leave. They circled slowly around my door. The floorboards outside groaned like someone leaning close. Then a whisper. "Next time, don't run." I froze. It wasn't a voice like any I'd heard before, half human, half something else. And then the sound stopped. The next morning I found something scratched into the inside of my door. 3 simple words gouged deep into the wood. "Still behind you." I moved out that same week. New city, new job. But it's been months now, and sometimes late at night when the streets are empty, I hear it again. Getting closer. Thank you. Please like and subscribe for more stories.